In the vast battles and coliseums of the arenas for the gods, these heroes duke it out amongst these crazy pillars and spike things and pits that restore your life to see who is the best, and technically who at the end has the most health left after one person gets eliminated. That is not the set of some movie. It's the story of Arena for the Gods by Iello. Wonderful game that we're going to take a look at right now. But look at the components alone and the art in this game, and you'll see what you're in for right now. Let's do this. So what is Arena for the Gods? It looks like this when it's set up, and that right there is enough to be cool. But check this out, the box is not that huge, yet look at all this goodness, this grandeur, this craziness, right? This fight inside of this box. So a couple things to notice. Excellent components. First of all, you can look at the name in the bottom left here, Iello, right? And you'll see a couple things that stand out that look similar, right? Little standees, right? Maybe some dice with different symbols on it, one of which is a fist-looking animal thing, and then there's a sword. Ring any bells? Starting to sound like another game, but it's only similar in the fact that you roll dice and spend your dice for actions. That game, of course, is King of Tokyo, but we're not talking about King of Tokyo, we're talking about Arena for the Gods. Very cool fighting arena-style game that honestly reminds me more of HeroClix than it probably should. If you're familiar with HeroClix, it's just kind of this thing where you throw all your characters together, Marvel, DC, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, anybody you can imagine, right? You fight them out in this grid-based system. Well, this is kind of just a blown-up version of that, zoomed in a much tighter space that uses much simpler mechanics in an easy way, but with some really cool twists. And not to mention this, look at this, again, the components, right? It came with this bowl, for goodness sakes. So let's dive in right now, see how Arena for the Gods plays and some of the highest shining points of this game and what you can do with it and what you can't do with it. Let's look right now. So let's talk major concepts right now. First of all, there are 4 decks of cards that start the game off. Obviously, you'll pick your nationality. Vikings, I think you've got, I want to say Japanese here. You've got Indian or Zoroastrian. I'm not really sure. The art's really similar to Indian, but the character looks very, very Zoroastrian in the sense of like a Persian Xerxes or something like that. So a lot of cool choices. Egyptian, different mythologies to choose from, and there's a couple more listed. But the characters are also really great too, and they represent these cultures really in a cool way, and it's cool to just see all these different historical backgrounds and stuff like that. Anyway, enough about that. Everyone picks their little mat that matches your mythology. So Egypt would get this one here. It's got the pyramids. Everyone starts with 20 life cubes here. That's these red little cubes. Start with 20 of those behind your screen. And then you do a little Game of Thrones style bidding process for these cards. So let's just say it's a 3-player game. You'll deal up 3 of these cards. That's a promo, by the way, because Iello knows what they're doing. And they got a laser sword, a xenomorph, some Harry Potter reference, and a Captain America shield. All of these unlicensed, of course. They're just different enough, but you know what they mean. You deal up, let's say in a 3-person game, 3 of these swords. Well, you then have an auction where everyone takes their own life points, bids how many they want to bid to take first choice of the different weapons. So let's say I bid 3 and I'm the high bidder. I would cash those in, meaning I'm down to 17 for the fight, but I get first choice of the weapons. Well, the laser sword, deal the damage to an adjacent hero or push an adjacent hero or move 1 space using this dice symbol. And we'll talk about what all this means in a little bit. The Amakuni's katana, move a space and deal 1 damage to a hero. So it's move and attack, a la HeroClix, right? A little charge. But it takes 2 different dice symbols to spend, so it's a little bit more expensive to do, but it's a move and attack. Over here, Thor's hammer, deal 1 damage to an adjacent hero and give them this token here. This means they lose a dice on their turn for rolling. If there's a game that definitely suffers from losing dice, it's this one because it's all about action economy. This one takes a shield and a sword to do. So based on this alone, you can probably tell how the game operates a little bit, right? Anyway, you bid on those. You do the same with the mounts. Here's the cool thing. Everybody gets a really cool mount. You've got Katakotel, Aravata, and Cerberus, right? You've got all these different choices. These are mostly how you move. With these dice here, it's a different way to move as well, so you can kind of see what they do, how they interact, and all such as that. You then go out to the armor here. Wow, I just threw those everywhere. 3 different types of armor here. The Imperial Shield, Sun God's Mask, and ours is Shiva's Necklace. Cool thing here. These are kind of passive abilities. You do this by spending what you have to have in this round, you know, to do it, to activate this symbol. And you would put this up on top of your board just so you remember that you have one, right? So when someone attacks you, you would spin this and you would deal damage to an adjacent hero. So it's kind of like you're setting up for that next round. So that's kind of what those do. And then you have, last but not least, your spells. And whoever wins the spell, there's the Harry Potter one, whoever wins the spell bid goes first. You got Vishnu's Curse, Henry Pedler's Protectus, and Suzanu's Storm, right? So these all do different things, just different ways to attack, different ways to make your character better. But it also ensures that the game you play is different each time, and I really, really like that. So, a couple other things to note. On the back of your player board, it tells you some basic actions that everyone can do no matter what. 2 swords, deal the damage to an adjacent hero. 2 movements, move a space. 2 of these, push, and 2 of the stars, deal the damage to a hero of your choice anywhere on the board. So cool things to note. So let's talk about these concepts of pushing, moving, and all that sort of stuff and what this game does. A couple of interesting concepts to note in a fighting game. First of all, you take the dice, you roll the dice, you see what you get. You can roll one more time any of the dice you want to re-roll, and then you're stuck with your roll. So let's just say I have this. I've got 4 shields, a sunburst, and 2 swords. Now, depending on what my weapons are, my armor, my mount, and my spells, I can do certain things with this, right? You saw that based on what I showed you in the equipment cards, or you can do the generic things with 2 of the shields, or 2 of the swords, 2 of the sunburst, or 2 of the movement foot, right? But that's how the game plays. You decide what actions you want to do based on your equipment, your armor, and you do things like move and attack, right? Also, these little places have 5 points of life. These healing places have 5 points of life, and if you move onto them, you gain one of these back. Also, if you move onto it, and then in the same turn move off, and then move back on, you can get it twice. Now, here's the point of this. A couple concepts to talk about. Movement. If your thing says move 3 spaces, it normally never says move up to 3 spaces because you have to take all 3 movements. So if it says move 3 spaces, you would have to move 1, 2, 3. If you can't move that last space because of some kind of barrier or something, because you can't move through other characters, you take a damage actually. So interesting to note, you have to kind of strategize. Also, some of the maps are cut off where you can't get to the entire full circle of the map. So that's also good to note. There are scenarios in the back. I'll show you some of those in just a minute. Pushing. This is straight out of kind of HeroClix, this whole knockback concept. I'm not saying they got it from there, but if you're familiar with it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Let's say your damage does, 1 damage and push your opponent. Well, it'll push that opponent back. Well, if they hit the edge of the map, they do a damage. If they hit one of these barriers, they do a damage. If they land on this, it does a damage too. So it's interesting ways where even if you don't have an attack showing, you can still do some damage and kind of mess people up with their positioning because of the way you push them. Because if you push somebody away, well, they're not adjacent to you anymore, but they might be adjacent to someone else. Instead of attacking you, they might attack them. So there's actually a lot of deep strategy involved in this game for something that really seems kind of simple. You're rolling dice and taking the actions based on what you get. But it's a lot deeper than that. It's actually a really good fighting game, Coliseum combat thing. So what do I think about it? Let's look. One thing to note, there are multiple scenarios based on time and the amount of players playing. Really good things to look at, all sorts of different setups. There's also variants in rules where you can play team combat, 2-player mode, you play 2 heroes typically, and last but not least, an all versus 1 big boss type combat. Really cool idea of all the different things you can do. Plus you can make your own scenarios and such. Also, shows kind of the heroes and what their main best pre-established things are, already built. So it's a way you can kind of jump into the game and show people how to play rather quickly. But this to me is just cool. The idea of doing this one against all thing, really neat. So the concept is really simple. In that it's a fighting game in a Coliseum, and it's a lot of nuance to it, but it's also very simple and quick to get to the table. The time says 30 minutes. That's pretty accurate, I would think. One thing to note though, it's not for everyone still. Even though it's quick and easy to get to the table and pretty simple and takes the concepts of King of Tokyo and makes it into a little bit deeper strategy game, my wife still doesn't like it because she doesn't like fighting games of any kind. Even though it's light, even though it's silly, not because of the violence factor, she just doesn't like conflict in games. She likes more solitaire games, or at least a little bit of more of that Euro style. I really had fun with this because, again, I came from HeroClix in my gaming experience. The art's great. Looking all around here, you got Poseidon sitting in a hot tub over here with a rubber ducky. All these different things around the edges. It's great. It's just a lot of fun. And it's actually a deep game. So should you play Arena for the Gods? You should. And I hope and I would assume that there's going to be expansions and things coming out, more characters and things, because if we've seen anything from Iello, King of Tokyo, King of New York, the Cthulhu, packs and all that sort of stuff, I'd love to see more of that just build into this and get this game deeper and deeper, because look at all the different cards, for goodness sakes. There's a lot of different weapons and items and mounts that you can choose from just from the start. So a lot of variety, a lot of fun, and that whole bidding process is cool. It gives you a chance to really try to get what you want at the gamble of less health. So you could say, no, I'll just take whatever's left and have full health. And ironically, the person who did that, I believe, won, because the game ends when someone loses all their health. Then you stop, everybody flips down their screen, shows how much health they have left. The person with the highest health is the winner. It's not a to the death thing, it's the highest health. Now you could play it that way, I'm sure, but that's the way it's written. So, Arena for the Gods, check it out. Absolutely, really cool game. I enjoyed it. The art's great. The components are great. I mean, look at these towers, for goodness sakes. It's just really cool stuff. Not to mention something I forgot to talk about. Insert, a really nice insert too. Plus, this bowl that comes with it fits inside of the insert. Nothing falls out. Everything stays organized. Really great game. So that is Arena for the Gods by Iello. Make sure to check this game out. Give them a try on this. I really enjoyed it. I think you will too. So for more videos, this is Bryan Drake with the latest retro. You can check out all the other videos we've done on the Dice Tower over at my channel. I've got a playlist that hooks together all the videos from the Dice Tower feed. So it's still the Dice Tower's feed. They're still getting the views, but it's just compiled in one place. So if you like my style, you can see everything in one place. So that is Arena for the Gods. I'm Bryan Drake. We'll see you next time. That was weird. Sorry.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.